Kansas State and BYU both lost, and that is really bad. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. We will open with the tragic day in the Big 12. We will also talk how BYU might have to just pack it in, fire somebody, do something. What was that? And we'll end with Colorado and Utah. Every game this week in the Big 12 will be covered. Thank you for hitting subscribe. I get to keep my job when you do that. I went to a wedding last night, and my goal was, okay, most of the lines in this league are a bit stiff. BYU blows out Kansas. Kansas State takes care of business at home. I don't have to do a show for Sunday. I can go to the wedding, have a good time, untie my tie, loosen it up, and then that's it. I was wrong. I was very wrong. Tragic is the correct word. I'm watching BYU play against Kansas, and I keep thinking, hey, Aaron Roderick, my old buddy, what if, I don't know, what if you did that offense thing? What if running, passing, something was your bread and butter? What if I knew that every BYU game I turned on, you would be able to do one thing on offense consistently? Heck, West Virginia can run the football. Utah can run the football. Baylor can throw the football. Iowa State can kind of do both. I can trust that week in and week out. But Aaron Roderick, BYU, I don't know. I don't know. I know Houston will play lights out defense. I know Kansas typically will have an offense that grades in the top 30 in the country in both passing and rushing. I know Arizona State will run the football. I know Kansas State will run the football. What will BYU do? If you told me pregame, Aaron Roderick, I need you to score 11 points, because, buddy, that's what it was. Sans a muffed punt, a wild muffed punt. BYU needed 11 points. That muffed punt made it 17. The Kansas scored in total. And all BYU had to do at home, Vampire Cougs, night game, home crowd, was score. And they didn't. All Kansas State had to do was score 25 points. DJ Giddens to Avery Johnson. 25 points. Anyone in the country, Desmond Howard, who sat at that desk and said, why are we picking Arizona State, Kansas State? This performance and BYU's performance against Kansas proved we don't have to. I am so unbelievably proud of Kansas defense, of Arizona State's defense, the ability to go into hostile territory, to win a game, to prove that truly the Big 12 is built to cannibalize itself. But the issue with that is that now the national narrative of, the Big 12 doesn't matter. They can ride that into the absolute sunset because we don't have a team, a program, two teams, two programs that are undefeated, that are undisputed top 10. We have a BYU squad that so often this year has been pronounced lucky A Colorado squad that has lost 2 games. It's playing its best football. A Baylor squad that right now might not lose to any Big 12 team, but they've already lost 4 games on the year. That is who represents our conference. Or 8-2 Iowa State, who has stunk the last few weeks and then finally put it back together. An Arizona State team that so many question, can they actually win? Now 8-2, 5-2 in Big 12 play. And I have to be honest, I'll talk about this all week long. For BYU, this isn't good. Your next 2 games are against teams that have legs up in certain categories. And that's not good. For the Big 12, you want, and this is like, take the BYU goggles, the Arizona State goggles, the Iowa State goggles, BYU, Baylor, Arizona State, anybody. Pull the goggles off. What do you want as a Big 12 fan? Elite natured teams. Kansas State, Iowa State, BYU, they were all right there. And those are the teams laying eggs. Kansas State has lost 2 of 3 still. Despite this win, 2 of 3 still. BYU in a home game against a 3-6 team. Well, I mean, Kansas has been winning. Kansas is pretty good. Yes. Does that excuse what happened? Well, Arizona State has been pretty good. Cam Scattaboo is pretty good. Sam Levitt's pretty good. Does that excuse this? At some point, there's no excuse. And there is total accountability for the lack of performance at the top of the Big 12. And maybe the only team right now that is giving that is Colorado. I will talk at length about Colorado later. They're a Heisman Trophy earning, physical, defensively led football team. And that will carry them in the postseason. Who are you, BYU? Who are you? Who are you, Kansas State? Iowa State, you won for sure against a very salty Cincinnati team. But who are you? What do you do? What is your bread and butter? What can I count on? Again, the teams that are winning right now, Baylor. I know I can count on Baylor right now. And that does nothing for the Big 12. 6-4 does nothing. If you're going to be Santa Claus, if you're going to kill Santa Claus and thus become the best team in this conference, you have to win. They have 4 losses. Utah, 6 losses. Arizona State, 2 losses, and out of college football playoff contention from an at-large standpoint. That is bad. I don't know how to express how disheartening this is. It's the opposite of what we needed. This is Locked On Big 12. Coming up, BYU. Now what? On Locked On Big 12. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy is the only reason I'm up. It is 1:30 Central Time. Post-wedding, great time, celebrate. How do I stay up for this show? 5 Hour Energy. Our friends there, 5 Hour Energy, have a new thing for you, and that is the spectacular, spectacular flavor called Fan Fuel. I've tried it. Fan Fuel is the energy shot made just for superfans like us. The fans who are first in line in the parking lot and last to leave. I see you. We see you. A huge play from the latest game can only be best enjoyed with 5 Hour Energy. Hey, this weekend, More games to come. 5-hour energy. They know that no matter what team you root for, a big fan needs heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy with 5-hour energy and your Stand the Fan 5-hour energy shot. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5-hour energy. Available at 5hourenergy.com and shipped nationwide. That is 5-hour energy. BYU. Again, I was at a wedding tonight. I thought BYU, Kansas, the nightcap suite. The Cougars, one of my best bets this week, will absolutely mow over Kansas. There is a clearly better football team taking the field at home, Vampire Cougs. And that is what you do. When I explore the idea of what's next for BYU, of where BYU goes from here, I have bad news. If you're in the SEC, this does not matter. If you're in the Big Ten, this does not matter. The difference is we trusted you, and honestly, we are still trusting you with the Big 12 brand. This is a conference that gets so little national respect, and I've seen BYU fans, I have seen Kansas State fans, Baylor fans, Texas Tech fans talk ad nauseum about how we require a top-level program to carry this league nationally. You were that. I will say it a million times. Tim Allen killed Santa Claus. Did he mean to kill Santa Claus? No. But the second he did, the requirement was he becomes Santa. You were supposed to become the best team in the Big 12. As you beat teams like Kansas State or like Utah, who were preseason top in this league, BYU then carries the torch as an elite program in the Big 12. Then this happens. Oh, yeah, well, Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. Huh. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. The SEC does this all the time. The difference, timeliness. I cannot have, you cannot have a team play that poorly in game 10. You've figured it out. And every week we question, is BYU lucky? Is BYU really that good? Or is this just some spurt of luck, some miracle Cougs, some God-ordained win streak that BYU is on? Then this happens. And I go from being the ultimate BYU defender to, hey, you score 11 points and you win. Oh, what? Kansas scored 17. 11 doesn't win. 18 wins. That muffed punt? Are you kidding me? The simple aspects of football. Aaron Roderick, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why is there zero consistency week in and week out in the offense for BYU? Why? And this isn't of course he rags the OC. Of course that guy is going to question the offensive coordinator in a loss. No. I have questioned him every single week. You saw it again. The lack of, I have said this before again. I know Baylor is going to throw the ball well. West Virginia is going to run the ball well. Arizona State will run the ball well. There is an identity for different Big 12 teams. BYU's identity cannot be late game comebacks. Our identity is being down and then being up. No, not how it works. And the worst part of this whole deal, you went from Big 12 championship lock to, Arizona State on the road. 2:30 game. I guess 1:30 Mountain Time. That is not only a very tough game, but also a game in which you will not be favored. A game in which Arizona State, who just went on the road and beat Kansas State, a game in which that team will likely win. And I don't know what to do. If we got this far with BYU, if we got so close to the finish line, and you lose 2 games in conference play, and now we're talking, shoot, what would the tiebreaker say? Can BYU make the conference championship against Colorado? There is absolutely no break, no reprieve, no solace in that. You had it. You had it. On a silver platter, nationally, a top 8, top 6 ranking. You gave it away to a 3-6 team. Elite teams beat the teams in front of them and especially beat the brakes off the teams that are in front of them that they are supposed to overpower. Is Kansas on a roll? Yeah. But you're number 6 in the country. 133 teams, and you're number 6. And you did that. It is so disappointing. It was so bad to watch. I just want the Big 12 to succeed on a national level. And that is how you represent us. I have loved BYU so much this year. But that coming up, Utah got throttled. There's your solace. On Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Man, I've told you this. Number 1 sportsbook in America. FanDuel is where I go to place my bets. I said, hey, I think Kansas might win, but I wouldn't put money on it. Then my college buddies who were at this wedding I was at said, you know what? We will. We'll go Kansas money line. And they made it's just, I shouldn't even say it, a very large sum of money. And for you, on America's number 1 sportsbook, FanDuel, you can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Start with one $5 bet. If it hits, you get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Middle of a game, live bet with FanDuel. College, NFL, any of it. They're an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. FanDuel.com. Visit FanDuel today. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. I love tickets, man. I buy tickets. I go. Country concerts, comedy, theater, sports. Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for all-in pricing, for seat views, for lowest price guaranteed, for Game Time ticket coverage, the most flexible ticket coverage option in the entire industry. So, take guesswork. Take the entire guesswork out of buying tickets and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time Picks. Download the app. Game Time. Terms apply. Again, create an account at Game Time. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Download Game Time. Concerts, sports, anything. Game Time is the place to be for you. Download Game Time today and see how they can benefit you. That's game time. Utah lays an egg. When it seemed like the game could be close, the defense keeps you in it. They lay an egg in the fourth quarter, and Colorado proves this team can win a Big 12 championship, could possibly beat BYU in the title game, and make it to the college football playoff, not as an at-large, 3 losses, that's how they would do it. That would be tough, but instead as the conference champion. They're as dangerous as anyone. First takeaway from this, Isaac Wilson, dog. Absolutely. I have so much respect for what that kid is doing. Now, take that statement, which is true, and pair it with another statement, which is true. He is not ready for this level of Division I college football. The coaching staff continues to put him out there in situations where he cannot win the game for his team. He hasn't done it. Utah's now lost 6 consecutive games, 21 for 40, 3 interceptions. Did he make some good throws? Yes. He had the one to Singer that was Travis Hunter guarded. Awesome. Did he also go 21 for 40 with 3 interceptions? Yes. He's not ready. He tried. And it makes me question, if he could start this week, why didn't he play last week in the second half? If you trusted him to start here instead of the Italian Stallion, and there were the rumors all week long that Isaac Wilson has mono, I just want to know what the leadership is thinking at Utah. On the other side, I know what the leadership of Colorado is thinking. I know what their coaching staff is thinking. Extension City. This is, I eat crow, foot in mouth. 8 weeks ago, I told you, this football team is not ready. The AAU style is not going to work. Deion Sanders is not a good enough leader to run a college football program. He's a great hype man, but he's not a good enough leader to run a college football program. And I was wrong. That wasn't true. The read that I had on Deion, based on what he did in the Pac-12, was incorrect. And Colorado was good. It took time to piece together a very athletic conglomerate of transfer players into what you see on the field now. Even without Jimmy Horn Jr., Colorado's offense puts up 49 points, and it was said ad nauseum by Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson. Utah has the number 1 defense in the Big 12. They're a top 10, analytically a top 10 defense in the country. Colorado put up 49 points. And Travis Hunter, while he's running the football into the end zone for a touchdown on offense, is pulling down interceptions on defense, is a lockdown corner, has allowed less than 250 receiving yards on the year while playing corner. That is astounding. I ask you, any other Heisman hopeful, which side of the ball do they play? One of them. This kid does both at an elite level. How about Shedeur Sanders? 30 for 41, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. That was a bad pick. But those 3 touchdowns, those 340 yards, that 30 for 41, can you give me any reason why both those guys shouldn't be in New York at the end of this season, and any reason why one of them, named Travis Hunter, shouldn't be holding that trophy when the name is read for the Heisman? It will happen. This was an offensive clinic for Colorado. Even when you thought they'll take their foot off the gas, Utah's kind of coming back. Could the Utes position themselves in at least peeing distance to get back and win? The answer was no. Isaac Wilson shut the door by just laying the ball into the chest of a Colorado defender. One of the easiest interceptions in maybe football history that Isaac was like, you know what? I don't even want it anymore. And I hate it for the kid, man. You can tell. It reminds me of when I played 7-on-7 intramural football at Baylor University. I didn't know that I, the journalism major from Valonia, Arkansas, would be playing 7-on-7 flag football against kids from Westlake. I'm like, yeah, that guy was the backup quarterback at Westlake. Like, uh-oh. I go out there. My first pass, interception. Similar to an Isaac Wilson play. Just like, oh, light's too bright, moment's too big. I didn't know that corner was the starter at Duncanville. I throw an interception, and I'm getting down on myself, man. I'm a young quarterback out there on the 7-on-7 field. Next play, I throw a completion. I think, oh, guys, we're so back. This is awesome. I can do this. Third play, interception. Now, look, I'm not in the same stratosphere as Isaac Wilson. Certainly not. But that is what it felt like. Like he had no confidence. starts to kind of gain some in the third and fourth quarter, looks like a different quarterback, and then, just kidding, guys. I threw that pick. I'm sorry. And I wonder what message is sent to him by Utah last week. My coaching staff's not confident in me. They have benched me multiple times. And the only reason they're playing me right now is because Brandon Rose doesn't have a foot for a while. Would you be fired up to play? Would you be really excited to get out there for that coaching staff? Maybe Isaac Wilson is. Seems like a good kid. But God bless, they put him in some tough situations. Italian Stallion would have been fun. I would have enjoyed that. On the other side, Colorado is here. When I think about them playing BYU in the Big 12 championship game, which is likely where we're headed, the biggest difference, and I'm going to, hold on, I want to preface this. Just because BYU barely snuck past Utah last week doesn't mean that Colorado is 20 points better than BYU. That's not how the transitive property doesn't work in college football. I tell you that all the time. And it's the same thing here. BYU and Colorado could square off next week and BYU win by 14 or Colorado win by 14. But this game against Utah is not indicative of how a BYU and Colorado game would go. Rivalry game on the road against Utah last week and a pretty darn good Brandon Rose when he was healthy. BYU wins that game. Colorado today at home, early game with facing Isaac Wilson, who's just not a college quarterback yet. There are elite freshman quarterbacks in the country that can step up day one and do it. That's not him. We've proven that. They've lost 6 straight. That's not him. And Colorado goes and blows it out. What that tells me is effectively nothing about how a Colorado BYU matchup would go. What I do know is the trajectory from one of these teams, for one of these teams, is much different than the other in how they are winning games. Arizona game, blowout. Cincinnati game, tough blowout. Texas Tech game, second half especially, blowout, 14-point victory. This Utah game, second half especially, blowout. Colorado's won 4 straight. BYU has won every game it's played. The difference is how Colorado is winning right now. BYU's got this magic miracle Cougars thing going on. But if they go to Arlington 12-0 and they're still finding these weird, quirky ways that Jake Retzlaff just steps up and wins it at the final buzzer, I need to see a BYU team dominate consistently. Yeah. That would be fun. And the BYU Colorado crash course to the Big 12 championship would also rock really hard. Oh, I don't know what happened, man. Utah, somebody's got to answer for this. Klatt's talking about how the defense is signaling in so late that Colorado's like, all right, we're just going to snap the ball while their defense is looking at the sideline. Morgan Scott, that's your next head coach. And they pinpointed how Utah players are staring at the sideline as the ball is snapped. Oh, no. Don't do that. That's not good. It sucks, man. You guys were supposed to win the college football playoff on behalf of the Big 12. And that would have rocked. I like any team that can win the college football playoff, whether it be now Colorado or BYU or whoever. This has been, and it always will be. Come back tomorrow. Power rankings. Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.